servings. Ghee is going to be a concentrated form of, or clarified form of butter, so it's not going to have all the milk solids in it. Put a little bit of heavy cream instead of half and half, or a flavored creamer, and a little bit of monk fruit or stevia instead of Splenda. Voila, you just turned a dirty breakfast into a clean breakfast without much thought, right? Then let's go into like a post-workout snack. Let's say you had your breakfast and maybe you're working out. A dirty example, just to show you, it doesn't mean it's a terrible thing if you're doing dirty keto. It's not the end of the world. It's just not hard to switch it up. I did dirty keto for a long time. Dirty keto is going to be using like a cheap whey protein concentrate. You don't typically want a concentrate, you typically want an isolate. And then maybe having a peanut butter, a little bit of peanut butter again, and a cheese stick. Peanut butter is very high omega-6. That's the biggest thing that we see with dirty keto is it's mainly rich in omega-6s versus omega-3s. That's the biggest change there. A clean option, pea protein or whey protein isolate. It's a subtle shift there. Pea protein I prefer, but if you're going to go with whey, if you strongly prefer whey, use a whey protein isolate, not a concentrate. If you want my recommendation on a pea protein, I stand wholeheartedly behind Sun Warriors pea protein. There's a link down below in the description. If you click the little arrow, there's a link down below to get special pricing on Sun Warriors Warrior Blend, which is a blend of pea and hemp along with some other things. So it's a very clean keto-friendly protein. Highly recommend it. They're great supporter of this channel and a huge product in my pantry. And then maybe you have some macadamia nuts. Okay, so macadamia nuts going to make it really easy just to get your good fat profile. Very low omega-6, very low. So you could go to town on nuts and be fine. Let's talk about beverages that you might have too. Maybe you're going to have in the dirty category diet soda, and then energy drinks, Rockstar Zeros, Monster Zeros, Bangs, all those things that are just loaded with sucralose and aspartame and acesulfame potassium. RTD shakes, a lot of those ready-to-drink meal replacement shakes are not good to go. They're usually full of garbage, full of preservatives, not something you want to sip on. Those ice drinks are loaded with sucralose. Okay, then you have Crystal Light, get asked that one a lot. That is definitely a dirty keto option when you have other options. Clean would be water, green tea, Zevia, okay, those stevia sweetened sodas. Those Bay or Bai, however you say it, drinks, which are like the sweetened coconut drinks. It's a little bit of coconut water and some usually erythritol and monk fruit. Or like Lecanto makes a liquid monk fruit lemon drops that you can just like drip in some water. That's perfect. Or infused water. See, it doesn't have to be this huge dramatic change. Now let's look at a sample lunch. A dirty lunch might be a fast food burger. You go to McDonald's, you go to Carl's Jr., you get a burger without the bun as a lettuce wrap. It's obviously going to have processed cheese on it, so it's going to be probably less than 50% real cheese, the rest just processed trans fats and garbage. Kind of preaching to the choir here. Pork rinds, which is a very fine line, because pork rinds can be totally good, but most of the inexpensive cheap pork rinds, like the Max brand and stuff like that, are going to have MSG in them, which is definitely going to be dirty keto. And then mayonnaise, most of the mayonnaise is good, but most, which is a very fine line, because pork rinds can be totally good, but most of the inexpensive cheap pork rinds, like the Max brand and stuff like that, are going to have MSG in them, which is definitely going to be dirty keto. And then mayonnaise, most of the mayonnaise you get is going to be soy-based. A quick tip, all you have to do is flip it around, and if it says soybean oil as the first or second ingredient, you know it's low-quality mayonnaise, which definitely puts you into the dirty keto category. Hellmann's, Best Foods, all that stuff is definitely dirty keto, and that's what almost all the restaurants use. Then ketchup. Ketchup has a bunch of sugar in it. That is not keto. That's going to kick you out of keto. Okay? Then we have clean option. Take a look at this. Tell me this doesn't look good. A Cobb salad with some chicken breast, a hard-boiled egg, loads of bacon, loads of avocado, a good quality dressing. Usually would prefer like an olive oil-based dressing, but a little bit of ranch dressing that's made with canola oil isn't going to kill you. It's much better than soybean oil, though. And then some nuts on there. Maybe some almonds, whatever, pecans, macadamia nuts would be preferred. You see, you can still go out to eat and still have a clean keto meal. It doesn't have to be dirty keto. A lot of times, like for lunch, I'll usually actually just skip it and do a shake and do like a pea protein shake, use that Sun Warrior or something there if I'm not in the mood for lunch, because a lot of times I'm not that hungry for lunch. Then dinner. Here's a perfect thing, right? Dirty keto would be getting some good old-fashioned greasy wings. We all love them, right? But when you look at chicken wings are mostly skin and mostly really dark meat, And poultry has a very, very poor fatty acid profile. So what happens is you load up on fat from poultry. I would much rather you get fat from a red meat, believe it or not, because you're going to have a lot more of the antibiotics and things like that in a poultry fat than you would otherwise. So anyway, chicken wings are definitely dirty. And then we might get deceived by cauliflower crust pizza. It's a cauliflower crust, so you're getting some veggies in, doesn't mean it's magically clean. If it has a bunch of that low-quality shredded cheese, a bunch of preservative-filled pepperoni, a bunch of preservative-filled sausage, and the standard marinara, which has like 12 grams of carbohydrates per quarter cup, 12 grams of sugar even, that's not good. And then you top it off with a Caesar salad loaded with Caesar dressing that has soybean oil, because most like pizza restaurants and stuff like that are going to use very cheap dressings. Look at the clean option. You might spend a couple bucks more, but if you're making it at home, it wouldn't be too bad, especially if you use flank steak. New York strip, or a flank steak, or maybe a chicken breast, or maybe a piece of salmon, which I did a dollar store keto haul. Yes, dollar store, and they have wild caught salmon for $1. Wild, so don't tell me you can't afford salmon when you can go to the Dollar Tree. I'm serious. Okay, melted ghee, put that on the steak. Come on. If you want to cut it up into strips and make a taco, have some guacamole. That's perfectly clean keto, right? Then some steamed veggies with a little bit of butter, like grass-fed butter, and coconut oil on it. And then maybe you melt some Parmesan on it. Tell me that that isn't delicious and you wouldn't think that that is a cheat meal. That is super good, and that is clean keto. Okay, so the point is that dirty and clean keto are so similar, but it's all kind of this nuancy stuff, which might drive you nuts. But my other point in saying this is don't get super hung up on it. Pay attention to the soybean oil. Pay attention to the omega-6 profile. Pay attention to the kinds of nuts. Pay attention to the carbohydrates that you would normally get out of a lot of these sneaky foods. Anyhow, as always, keep it locked into my channel. Don't forget to check out some warrior down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Я часто тревожусь. Как быть?
Imagine laying on a hammock, getting some sun, eating a bucket of mushrooms. You're getting vitamin D3 from the sun and vitamin D2 from mushrooms. It's exactly what you want to do. There's a big difference between vitamin D3 and vitamin D2, and we're going to break it down. Vitamin D2, you're getting from yeast, you're getting from mushrooms, getting from fungi, right? Vitamin D3, we're getting from the sun. Now, ultimately, they're both going to the same plate.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Piano TV. So today's video is one that was requested. It is a simplified tutorial and piano arrangement of Chopin's Etude Winter Wind. So this is his Etude Opus 25, number 11, and the original version is like wildly difficult. We actually talked about it in the last video when we were talking about the easiest and most difficult Chopin songs. So this is definitely like, it's not even one of the most difficult Chopin songs, it's like one of the most difficult songs of all time on the piano. So sometimes it's fun to be able to play a song before you can play it. So my arrangement here today, that the sheet music is available below if you want to learn it. It's 2 pages. I took out all of like the crazy right hand movement, which you'll hear in a second here when we listen to the original, so you get a sense of that. And I just kind of like kept the bare bones, like the essence of the song. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to listen through it, we're going to play it on the piano, take it apart a little bit and pick out some of the details and discuss a little bit of the piece's backstory as well. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit of backstory first. So Chopin's Etudes, Opus 25, his collection of Etudes, was published in 1837, so in the Romantic period of music. Now, what an etude is in piano literature, it's a song that is designed to train you in a special skill. So a lot of the times, etudes aren't things you're going to like hear at a concert performance. They're more to just like, they're more functional. They're just meant to like build your technique and stuff like that. But Chopin's etudes are among some of the few that are the exception to that rule. They are regularly performed because not only do they build your technique, they sound super cool. So if you were learning the full difficult version of this etude, what you would be working on would be endurance, because it's a pretty long song and it's really, really, really fast. The left hand's doing like big leaps, the right hand's doing quick chromatic movements, and everything is really, really loud and intense. We'll listen to it in a second so you can get a sense of that. Also, one thing you'll notice when we listen to it, there's like a nice, mellow, slow introduction, like totally mislead you about what the song is going to do. It didn't originally exist. Chopin did not write the introduction to begin with, but a friend of his persuaded him to include an introduction, so we did.
Milky.
If you're familiar at all with Chopin and some of his more popular works, you probably know his revolutionary etude. It's Opus 10, number 12. And these 2 etudes, so Winter Wind and Revolutionary, are like twins. So Revolutionary is all fast-moving left hand, and Winter Wind is all fast-moving right hand. And they're both like really, they require a lot of endurance, and they're both really, really intense. I actually think Winter Wind is a little bit harder because it's longer, so you just need more endurance. But anyway, we are going to take a listen to my version on the piano now. You can like follow along the sheet music on the screen, and then we'll pick it apart a little bit. So let's get to that. of all the terms used in a song, as well as their meanings, and I'll link this all on the blog post attached to this video. There are a lot of different articulations, dynamics, and details to pay attention to here, so definitely review this list if you're not familiar with all the terms. In addition to the terms, you have also got various symbols like this, so just something to pay attention to if you're not really sure what they are. I want to briefly discuss the rhythm in this piece because there are some slightly more challenging 16th note sections. So this is a good opportunity to go through and make sure we still know how to count. So when we count, I'm going to break this down to basics here. So if we're in 4/4 time, this song is in 4/4 time, I just don't have it written there. We count to 4, and this is a quarter note beat. So if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, you are counting in quarter notes. When you are counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, suddenly you change your underlying beat to 8th notes. So now all of a sudden you are counting 8th note beats. And then we can break that down further. If you are counting 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, you've changed your beat to 16th notes. That's getting a little tiny, but I think you get the idea. So since we have 16th notes in this song, there's little sections with them, it is best to count with a 16th note beat so you can see exactly where every single beat of the song aligns. I wouldn't do this for every bar, but I would definitely write out the rhythm for a couple tricky bars just to get the hang of it. So here we have this one beat rest, so this would be 1E and a right there. And then here we go. So we have a 16th note and a dotted 8th. So this is going to be 2E and since this is a 16th note, it gets just one, it gets the it gets 1 16th beat. And then 3 E and a, and then 4 E and a. And this is matching up with 4 and 1. So if I was sitting at the piano by myself, what I would do is I would probably do a little bit of tapping with my left hand and my right hand. So my left hand would tap the left hand part, the right hand would tap the right hand part, and I'd do something like this. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. There are also some little triplets in this song. Triplets they're not too complicated to understand. Just means that instead of 2 8th notes per quarter beat, we have 3 8th notes that fit inside a quarter beat. Sometimes I find it's helpful to say words that kind of already have a triplet flow to them, like the word blueberry. So for example, you might think it's a little pattern here as blueberry pie. I know it sounds kind of silly, but if this is your beat, blueberry pie, blueberry pie, you can kind of hear how you can, if you think in words like that, you can fit those 3 triplet beats easily in one tick. A couple words of warning for this song as well, just little things to watch out for, is that the clefs jump around a lot. So basically all this means is you would read these notes as though they are left-hand notes, you're playing them with the right hand still, but you read them in the bass clef. The reason I wrote it like this, especially, if you see down here you have 2 bass clefs, is because the notes get so low. It's easier to read them like that than if I were to say do it in the right hand and there'd be a million ledger lines that you'd have to read. So that was just my way of simplifying it a little bit. And then you can see it jumps back to the treble clef here. And throughout the song, it's just basically constantly hopping around. Here we have double bass clef again. So just pay attention for that. What's interesting to me is how often the song changes keys and how strongly. So we start in the key of C major. We're kind of doing the C major harmony in here. You can see C, E, and G in the opening notes. And then when the real intense part of the tune begins, we are in the key of A minor. And we have these wacky, almost jazzy sounding sections where you're moving from a D diminished chord to an F minor chord and some really weird changes in there. And then on the second page, we basically have a repeat of the song, but now instead of being in A minor, we are in E minor. If you're at all nerdy about music theory and chords and stuff like that, I think you'll have fun combing through this piece and finding all of the random and interesting chord combinations that Chopin favored in this one. And that is all for today's video. If you want to learn how to play this arrangement, you can just, follow the Yellow Brick Road links in the comment bar below. It's all on my blog, pianotv.net. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any other requests of tutorials you want to do, or, just videos in general or anything like that, always feel free to leave that in the comments. You